Hey everyone, today's video is very simple. It's just a brief walkthrough of me changing my strings and checking out my guitar. Obviously, we'll start with taking the old strings off. I was due for a new set of strings after I snapped my high E string while I was bending it. It's not too often I break a string while I'm playing, but it does happen once in a blue moon. This guitar is my Fender Jaguar. It's a classic player HH series, which means it has the dual humbuckers. I really enjoy this guitar and it plays very well. Once I have the old strings off, I'll begin cleaning off the guitar. I don't always use lemon oil on my fretboards, but it's nice to do every so often as it will help refresh and rehydrate the rosewood and ebony fingerboards. And if you have a maple fretboard on your guitar, it's recommended to not use lemon oil since it can mess with the finish and lacquer that they put on top of it, so keep that in mind. As far as cleaning the body goes, you could use any sort of cleaner that you prefer. There's a lot of cleaners that are specifically made and marketed for guitars, but I've been using the same spray bottle that I've been refilling with water for years now. And that does the trick. I'll just go over the front and back of the body as well as the back of the neck, especially the back of the neck with how sweaty my hands tend to be while I play. After I finish cleaning my guitar, I'll check all of the bolts and screws just to ensure that they're nice and tight and secure. I'll pay special attention to the screws on the tuning pegs just to make sure they're nice and snug, as well as the bolt for the tuning jack just to make sure my cable is properly secured while I'm plugged into an amplifier. I've been using Diodarios for over a decade now after experimenting with a few different brands and types of strings. My main preference is 9 gauges on my Stratocaster since it's a 25.5 inch scale length. On my Les Paul and Jaguar, I prefer 10 gauges on the shorter scale lengths. These classic style tuners can be frustrating to do the first few times, but you soon get the hang of it. It just takes a little bit of practice and you'll begin to be a bit more comfortable with it. Once all my strings are on, I'll tune my guitar to pitch. Typically, I'll be in E standard. It's not too often I go outside of E standard for my tunings. Occasionally, I'll dabble in open D, sometimes E flat standard, drop D, but for the most part, I'm either in E standard with the occasional drop D. Whether you have a single instrument or multiple guitars like I do, it's a good habit to double check its setup whenever you put new strings on. This would typically entail the intonation or how well the strings are tuned up the fretboard, the action, or otherwise known as the string height, as well as the neck relief, which is how much of a back bow or curve the neck has. I start off by checking the intonation, and to do that, you'll want to make sure your guitar is in whatever tuning you want to use on that instrument, and you'll verify that the 12th fret harmonic is the same pitch as the open string. If it's slightly sharp or flat, there's wonderful tutorials on YouTube that you can use with adjusting your intonation, which is done by the little screws on the bridge. The action or the string height on my Jaguar was still perfectly set to my ideal preferences. Next up, we'll check the neck relief. To do this, you'll need a capo on the first fret of your instrument, and then you'll press down with your index finger on the 12th fret of the lowest string. Typically, with a set of feeler gauges, there'll be 7/1000ths of an inch, but if you don't have any feeler gauges on hand, typically the thickness of a business card or your guitar pick will be the right amount of neck relief for a proper back bow. And there'll be setup tutorials on YouTube that you can find for great resources on setting up the neck relief as well. As we close out this video, I hope you enjoyed some insight on setting up and restringing a guitar. If you learned anything or have any questions, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day wherever you're at. All right, see you guys.